Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into the April 2025 Executive Order on Federal Procurement.
Right.
We've got the order itself, of course, but also analyses, some FAQs, and, discussions about its legal basis and what it might mean in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today is really to get past the official jargon and understand what this order is trying to achieve, how it plans to do it, and importantly, the debates and maybe the hurdles around it, especially for those of you interested in how government actually works, how policy gets made.
Absolutely. And this is, well, it's a significant policy shift. It's going to touch how federal agencies buy pretty much everything,
Right.
from paper clips to advanced satellites.
And the core idea seems to be about money, right? Taxpayer dollars.
Exactly. Responsible stewardship of taxpayer funds is right at the heart of it. The order kicks off by talking about eliminating unnecessary and imprudent expenditures.
Okay, so unpack that for us. What's the specific problem they think they're solving here? What's gone wrong, in their view?
Well, the order suggests there's been this tendency for agencies to go for custom-designed products and services, bespoke solutions.
Even when there might be something similar already out there on the market.
Precisely. Even when suitable commercial alternatives might exist.
Oh.
And the argument is this has led to two main problems.
Okay, what are those?
First, it's seen as potentially stifling innovation in the commercial world. If the government always wants something custom, why would companies invest in off-the-shelf solutions that could meet government needs?
All right, less incentive.
Less incentive. And second, maybe the more obvious one for the public, is cost and time. It's argued that building everything custom often leads to higher government spending and, well, delays. Getting things done takes longer.
So the order is basically saying, hey, agencies, hold on. Before you commission that unique thing, take a really hard look at what's already available commercially.
That's the essence of it, yes. And it's not just a polite suggestion. The order states very clearly, agencies shall procure commercially available products and services to the maximum extent practicable.
Maximum extent practicable. That phrase always carries weight.
It does. And it even covers situations where a commercial item might need, say, minor tweaks to meet a government need. They still want you to lean towards that commercial starting point.
Okay, that term commercially available seems pretty key then. What does it actually mean in this context? Are we talking Amazon or?
Well, maybe not just Amazon, but think broadly. It means products and services that are, generally offered to the public in the commercial marketplace. If a company sells software or provides a service to other businesses or even directly to consumers, that usually fits the bill.
So standard market offerings.
Right. The order wants agencies to make those the default choice.
Now, you mentioned earlier this isn't maybe a brand new idea, prioritizing commercial buying.
You're right, it's not entirely new ground. The executive order itself points back to the Federal Acquisition Streamlining Act of 1994, FASA.
FASA, right, I remember that.
And FASA already had language directing the government to use the competitive marketplace and private sector innovations to the maximum extent practicable. So, same phrase again.
Okay, so if FASA said it back in 94, why the need for this big executive order now? What's the perceived gap they're trying to fill?
The implication in the order seems to be that, well, maybe FASA's goals weren't fully met. The order uses language like previous approaches may have evaded statutory preferences or abused the federal contracting framework.
Strong words.
They are. So the current thinking is clearly that a more forceful top-down directive is needed to really embed this commercial first principle.
Got it. So we understand the why and the basic policy. How does this actually change things on the ground for government buyers? It sounds like there's a lot more process now, especially if they don't go commercial.
Yes, indeed. The process for anything not deemed commercially available gets significantly tighter, much more scrutiny. And it works slightly differently for things already in the pipeline versus brand new procurements.
Okay, let's take the ongoing stuff first. What happens to non-commercial projects already underway?
So within 60 days of the order that puts the deadline around, mid-June 2025, contracting officers have to review all their open solicitations, pre-solicitations, even things like award notices or sole source justifications, if they relate to non-commercial items or services.
So anything custom or specialized they're currently working on acquiring.
Exactly. Think specialized defense systems, maybe unique R&D projects where there just isn't an off-the-shelf version.
And after they review them, just make a list.
Oh, no, it's more involved. The contracting officer has to bundle these reviews up into a formal proposed application.
An application?
Yes. And that application goes up the chain to the agency's designated approval authority.
Ah.
Usually that's someone quite senior, like the senior procurement executive.
Okay, so an immediate high-level check. What goes in that application? Can't just be a cover sheet, surely.
Definitely not. This is crucial. The application must include detailed market research and price analysis.
The proof.
The proof. They have to show they've really scoured the commercial market, looked at alternatives, and that the cost and need for a non-commercial approach are truly justified. It has to be compelling.
And that links to existing rules, too, you mentioned.
It does. It explicitly ties into existing parts of the U.S. Code 41 U.S.C. 3307D and 10 U.S.C. 3453 C and D, which already lay out justification requirements for non-commercial buys. The application also needs to spell out why a government-unique solution is absolutely necessary.
That sounds like a significant amount of work for those contracting officers.
It is a potentially heavy lift, and then the approval authority gets this application.
What do they do? How long do they have?
They have 30 days to review it. They're checking if it complies with FASA, if the market research is solid, if the justification really holds water.
And they can push back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They can send it back for more work, demand a better look at commercial options, or even recommend switching to a commercial solution if they think it's adequate after all.
Okay, a real gatekeeper function there. What about new non-commercial needs, starting from scratch? Is it the same process?
It's similar,
Yeah.
but actually even stricter for future procurements.
How so?
Before they can even issue a solicitation, before they even ask for bids, the contracting officer has to go to the approval authority. They need to provide a full description of what they want to buy, the detailed reasoning for why it has to be non-commercial, and again, all the supporting market research and price analysis.
So pre-approval is required.
It's pre-approval. The approval authority reviews all this and has to issue a formal written approval or denial. That written record is key.
No ambiguity there.
None. And here's another layer. The approval authority has the option to consult with the director of OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, on these future non-commercial proposals.
OMB. Wow, that really elevates the oversight, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It signals that these decisions might get scrutiny right from the top of the executive branch's budget and management arm.
So we've got contracting officers doing the legwork, approval authorities acting as gatekeepers. What's OMB's broader role here, besides potential consultations?
Well, OMB is sort of the central watchdog. Beyond that optional consult, each agency's approval authority has to send an annual report to the director of OMB.
An annual report. What's in that?
It has to detail how the agency is sticking to FASA and, critically, how they're progressing and actually implementing the policies from this new executive order. The first one is due 120 days after the order, then annually.
So OMB gets regular updates on compliance and the shift towards commercial buying across the entire government.
Exactly. It's the mechanism for monitoring whether the order is actually changing behavior.
Okay. It's a very clear structure then.
Yeah.
Top-down directive, defined roles, reporting, all pushing towards commercial first.
That's clearly the driving goal. Bring in private sector innovation, leverage what's already out there. The argument, again, is that sticking to custom bills has meant the government misses out on commercial progress.
Makes sense on paper. But like any big policy change, there must be pushback, or at least some concerns being raised, right? What are the counter-arguments or potential downsides people are flagging?
Oh, definitely. There are several significant points being discussed. A major one is just the sheer complexity of some government needs.
Right. Not everything is an office chair.
Exactly. Think about, say, advanced military hardware or very specific intelligence gathering tools. There often just isn't a commercial equivalent. Custom development might be the only way.
So the order needs to allow for genuine exceptions.
Presumably. And even the Federal Acquisition Regulation acknowledges situations like sole source needs or heavily customized items where buying commercial isn't always the best fit.
Okay, what else?
Another big concern is the potential impact on small businesses and particularly disadvantaged businesses.
How so?
Well, many smaller firms specialize in providing those tailored, customized solutions to the government. They aren't necessarily mass-producing commercial goods.
So a strict commercial first rule could disadvantage them.
It could. It might inadvertently shrink the pool of opportunities for businesses that excel in niche, government-specific work. And there's data, like from 2023, showing minority-owned businesses, for example, already get a disproportionately small slice of the federal contracting pie. This could potentially make that worse.
That's a really important point. Efficiency shouldn't undermine efforts towards equity in contracting. Are there other worries?
Yes. There's also a risk of, let's say, oversimplification, maybe a loss of needed flexibility. Government requirements can be incredibly specific. If agencies are forced to pick the closest commercial fit, even if it's not quite right, you might end up with suboptimal solutions, trying to awkwardly shoehorn a commercial product into a specific need it wasn't designed for.
And that could stifle a different kind of innovation, the kind that comes from tackling unique government problems directly.
Some argue exactly that. Groups like the Coalition for Government Procurement have raised these points, worrying that a rigid focus might limit access to the best solutions, whether commercial or custom.
So a potential loss of effectiveness in the name of efficiency. What about the practicalities? Could this new process itself cause problems?
It could. All that extra market research, the detailed justifications for non-commercial buys, that definitely adds to the administrative workload for contracting officers.
Which could mean delays.
Potentially, yes. Some might slow down procurements, even urgent ones. And one final point. Buying commercial isn't always cheaper.
Really?
Think about it. If you take a commercial product, but then have to pay for significant modifications to make it meet specific government requirements, the total cost could actually end up being higher than if you just commissioned a tailored solution from the start. The FAR mentions this possibility too.
So it's definitely not a simple equation. There's this real balancing act, isn't there? Efficiency and commercial innovation versus complex needs and supporting diverse businesses.
That sums it up perfectly. The executive order clearly pushes the scale hard in one direction towards commercial. But how agencies manage these inherent tensions in practice will really determine its ultimate success and impact.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. The key takeaways seem to be: this executive order is a major push for federal agencies to buy commercial products and services whenever possible. The goals are saving money and tapping into private sector innovation.
Right.
It sets up a much tougher, more detailed process with significantly more scrutiny for any time an agency wants to buy something non-commercial. Clear roles for contracting officers, approval authorities, and OMB oversight are established.
Very clear rules.
But while the intention seems straightforward efficiency, innovation there are real debates. Can it handle truly complex, unique government needs? What's the impact on small and specialized businesses? Does it risk inflexibility or create new bureaucratic delays?
Those are exactly the questions being asked. It's a policy shift with potentially big consequences for how taxpayer money gets spent and what kinds of solutions the government ends up using. It really highlights that constant balancing act between efficiency, innovation, and meeting unique government requirements.
It certainly gives us a lot to think about. And maybe here's a final thought for our listeners to chew on. We see commercial tech evolving incredibly fast, right? So how does the government effectively balance leveraging all those rapid advancements with the fact that it will probably always need some highly specialized custom solutions that the commercial market just won't ever provide? What are the long-term stakes of getting that balance right or wrong, especially for things like national security or staying ahead technologically?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? A fascinating challenge going forward.
Indeed. Thanks for helping us unpack all of that today.
My pleasure.